Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
Hey. It is Transformation Tuesday at Loving Me Before I Love You. I am so excited. Today is no different than any other Tuesday, but I want you guys to sit for a moment and imagine being in a relationship. Imagine being married for 15 years, coming in, sitting down after a long day's work, sitting on the couch, watching TV, and you sit on one end and your spouse sits on the opposite end. You start getting into your phone, they start flipping channels, but you guys are paying no attention to each other. The house is quiet, but the silence is very loud. You've gone from finishing each other's sentences to barely having conversation at all. It's not that they don't have love for each other, but life has been lifing. Work, kids, responsibilities seem to have stolen the spark that you once had. I share this because I've seen it happen to so many couples, maybe even to you or someone you know. The honeymoon fades, it fades away, and keeping the connection just doesn't feel that alive. It feels like an uphill battle. But here's good news. The spark isn't gone. It's just waiting to be reignited. That's why I'm thrilled, because I have guests today that talk nothing but about restoring marriages and how there's restoration in the power of marriage. And I have none other than John and Dominique Robinson. They love to bring the fire back to marriage, and they want you to get the fire back in yours if you've lost it. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm super excited about this.
So are we. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, absolutely honored to be here with you and your guests. Thank you so much for the invitation. We're so looking forward to this episode and getting an opportunity to chop it up around this amazing subject of marriage.
Absolutely.
Man. So, I would say today's era, marriage is not really talked about that much. And I mean, like, talked about it from the in-depths of it. You hear people talk about they want to be married, but you hear more people talk about, oh no, that is not what we're doing.
Right.
It is like had a negative connotation lately, and people want to stay in their singleness. They don't. It's like, get married for what? You hear men say, how do I benefit from marriage? Why do I want to do that? And then you hear women say too, like, oh, I don't have time to go through that. Like, that's too much. When I'm done, I want to be able to walk away and not think about it. So it's not really celebrated anymore.
Yes.
Let's talk about why that is and how we can change it.
Yeah. So for me, I believe, being married, I can talk on behalf of married couples. I think married couples have done a poor job of putting a positive image out there for singles to look to and to glean from. Mm-hmm. When they look to most marriages, they look at a high divorce rate. They look at us mistreating each other. They look at us being unfaithful, being dishonest. And so, they say, well, hold on, man, like my little boo and I, we good over here. You know what I'm saying? So I can just keep rocking with this, courtship. I can keep shacking, doing whatever I'm doing. Like, I have no reason to go to marriage. So I think that one of the things is that I don't believe enough married couples understand that it is our responsibility to show the world an example of Christ's love for the church. That's how we are supposed to display our marriage. And so the thing is, the Bible said, let your light so shine so that men see your good work and glorify him. And so that's the same thing in your marriage. They should see how you treat your spouse and like, hey, you know what? I want that. I want that. And so I don't think we have enough of that going on. And so that's kind of what we do. We just believe in restoring honor to marriage. You have some married people that dishonor marriage. They're married, but they're like, man, I want to get out of this thing so bad.
Yeah.
And then you have some singles like, I just don't want no parts of it. And so our goal is to restore honor on both sides. I believe that marriage works. Absolutely. If you work it, if you do it right. The people that are afraid to get married, then you may also have some people that were married and are divorced. Mm-hmm. And now they're like, because of my divorce, it has scarred me in a way. Mm-hmm. And now because of what I went through, I want no parts of it.
Yeah.
And so for us, man, we just believe, man, that, God is able to redeem the time. He's able to heal the wounds and, heal the scars and remove whatever hurt that you may be experiencing from that past relationship. And you don't have to now navigate your singleness with a disdain for marriage because of what you went through or what you've seen others go through in marriage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's my take on it, babe. I don't know. You got something you want to add?
Well, I think you covered quite a bit and I agree with you wholeheartedly. But something else I was thinking as you were speaking and even in your question, Tammy, when we talk about marriage, I want people so much to understand that it is by design and intention. Like, God created this institution with us in mind, right? And he wanted it to be carried out so well that he sent his son to show us how to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so in Ephesians, when it talks about loving your wives, husbands loving your wives the way Christ loves the church, God never does anything in the earth with the expectation of us following and carrying it out without first providing an example, right? And so the example is already there. The model is already there as for how we're supposed to do this. Everything that he does is by design. Everything that he did is by design. I believe that so much. I was actually reading Genesis this morning and, it blew me away because I think it's around Genesis like 1:27, I believe, verse. And it talks about God creating male, female, he, them, and then I went over to Mark and I followed up with what Jesus said, to the disciples. And I think he was talking to the Pharisees and he says, look, it was already done like in the beginning, like it was already done. That's why he did this. So I was thinking like, man, you thought about us all the way back then, very early on, right? He thought about us. He had us in mind. And so I believe it's by his perfect design that he set marriage up to be carried out. The institution is beautiful. We love it. And like he said, we're here to help restore honor back to the institution and make people realize, or help them, not make them, but help them to realize that God wanted this for you, that it's good. It's a part of everything that he did and everything that he created was good and very good. And we believe that with all our heart.
Yeah,
absolutely. So when people think of marriage and they say it's a bad thing or whatever, I just think it's based upon their experiences.
Of course.
Right. And so literally a few weeks ago, my pastor was preaching on marriage and he was talking about how when the disciples, I think, was asking Jesus to comment on what marriage is. And he said, go back. I did that in Genesis. Like you might, he didn't even address their question for real.
Absolutely.
Like, it was like, you asking something I already answered. I'm gonna need you to like hit them books and go back and check that out real quick.
Right.
And in that, he also was saying that everybody wasn't meant for marriage, right? That it is a choice. Because even some of them was like, oh, wait, it includes all of this. Wait a minute, I think I'm going to stay single. Like the single life looks more interesting than all that you talking in this marriage game. And so, because it's work. You know what I mean? Like you said, it works if you work it. Yeah. But I think that that's anything, right, in life. I also think that, and this is just me talking, because I have been married, I am divorced, I'm single, but at the same time, I choose not to allow my scars to taint my perception of what it really is, And so I do think that those things are choices.
Of course.
So, right. Because I'm a big proponent of healing, and y'all know that. Like, you got to heal, you got to get back to who you are, because that whatever that marriage was, whatever happened within it, it happened. It is what it is, but it doesn't make the institution of marriage be horrible, right?
No, absolutely.
You chose the wrong partner. it's okay.
And
And you may have been the wrong partner yourself. But
right. I think that is so good though, because many people are judging the institution, like you said, based off their experience.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
They're saying marriage doesn't work because they saw someone's marriage not work, or they experienced a marriage that did not work.
Yeah.
Right.
And man, that has absolutely nothing to do with the institution. Like Dom said, like it is like everything he created, and the institution was a part of the creation in Genesis, right?
Yeah.
And so he said it was good and very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I often tell people, a lot of people think that at the moment that Adam fell, the institution fell with it. It didn't, because only thing that fell is what God put man over. And God never put Adam over the institution of marriage. Adam was over his marriage.
Yeah.
And so when Adam and Eve sinned, and when they fell, when man fell, the institution was still good, because that was God's institution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because he always created for it to be an earthly mirror of the relationship between Christ and the church. And so it could not fail.
Right. Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
And also something else you said about our experiences. I think it's so important too that whether you're single or divorced, or you're looking to remarry, whatever the case, you need to understand that it's going to require two whole people. You need to be healed.
Yeah.
And you cannot and you should not enter into a marriage looking for the other person to make you whole.
Teach, sis.
Yes.
You got to do your own work.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
You got to work out your own soul salvation.
Yes.
And so I think that is a huge mistake that people make when they get married for the first time. And then even if they re-enter into a marriage, especially after a divorce or something, they go in broken. Well, you're already defeated.
Yeah.
Something I was talking about with a coworker today, this institution has always been and will always be under attack. So don't place yourself, in a greater deficit, right? By going in, not healed, not whole. You do yourself, you do the other person, your spouse, you do the institution, no justice. It does not speak well to the world of people looking on and looking at the institution that God created and put in the earth. And you're like, and that's why people are like, I don't want that. Because
I agree.
People are wrecking it.
I agree. So the interesting thing though, when you talk about being whole, right, and coming healed. So I have this thing where I say you can get in a relationship broken and that relationship can heal. Like the process of the relationship, the healing can actually take place. Why? Because a relationship is nothing but a mirror. Whoever you're with, you should be seeing yourself, right? They should be able to show you, and you should be able to show you them. And the broken pieces can be mended technically together through work, but together. And what I think actually takes place is that when people are broken and they get together and they decide to get married before they do the healing process, like in other words, like you can still be together. You can still date and get to know each other and go through the healing process actually together. It's don't get married before you put the glue in the spot. You know what I mean? Like before, because I'm a firm believer, broken crayons still color. But you do have to try to mend and heal the pieces that can be detrimental to the union.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I totally agree with that. And if we're transparent, I can say that I'll speak for me. I went into our marriage, and I still had some broken pieces. You get what I'm saying? I still had some broken crayons in the box. But I think what made the difference for us now, do I recommend that? No. Because everyone does not make it over the hump. And what I mean by that is, although I believe you can heal and you can grow, your spouse can help you identify and bring healing to some areas. The only problem is that some people don't make it over the hump. And typically when you are scarred entering into marriage, you usually scar your spouse on your way out of it, because most times it doesn't make it. And so I do recommend, if you can, identify, disclose that information with your new soon to be spouse. Say, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, this is something that I see that's a crack in my cup. I'm working on it. I've identified it. I know what's going on. I know where it came from.
Yeah.
And then let that person now make the decision if this is something that I'm willing to jump in the ring with you and help you fight out. Or if, we're going to say, hey, listen, I need you to go and get complete help and get healing before we decide to get married.
Right.
And so although it can work, like Dom said, the institution of marriage has been and will always be under attack because Satan understands unity.
Yeah.
He understands the power of it. And he understands what happens when two individuals get together and they see themselves no longer as two, but one.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so if you want to be completely honest, that's what really happened in the garden.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yes, it was an attack on marriage. Right. And so that's going to always be a thing. And so like Dom said, don't put yourself at a disadvantage by entering into marriage that's going to always be under attack, but you're also broken.
Broken. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I said fix yourself first before you actually get married. Like y'all can be dating. You can see the pieces in the dating phase because sometimes because you are a mirror, because like literally that's what relationships are. You sometimes don't even see the piece that's cracked. You ever had a hairline fracture that you didn't see until you put that under the microscope? Right. And it was like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was there.
And you know what? Listen, if you ever want someone to be called out, your spouse can call it out.
Absolutely.
Your spouse can call it out.
Absolutely.
But that's what they're supposed to do. Like, we teach couples that, your spouse is responsible for your blind side.
Yeah.
The side of you that you can't see, the side of you that you didn't even know that was, at risk. Yeah. And so, but most couples, unfortunately, Tammy, we don't lean into our spouse's covering of our blind side.
Absolutely.
We take offense.
We take offense to it. Yeah.
We take offense to it when it's really a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think most people take offense to it because you're seeing yourself as two and not one. Because if I saw us as one and you point out something about me, then I see you covering us.
Yeah.
But then also on the other side of it, it's very important too, that although as spouses, we are responsible for covering our spouse's blind side, how we approach that blind side, how we address the issue matters.
Yeah. No, that's
right.
Absolutely.
Tone and timing matters. Like, we can't just say, hey, listen, you need to fix this. You don't even see you doing it. Okay, wait a minute. Watch yourself. Not too much.
Not too much.
Not too much. You know what I'm saying?
Not too much. Not too much.
So although we are responsible for looking out for our spouse and, seeing that vulnerable or weak area, I think it's important that we watch how we go into it, how we go into that conversation and how we navigate those conversations.
Right.
So that what we have to say can reach their heart and take root and it doesn't make them take offense.
Absolutely. It's all about the how.
Yeah.
It's always.
How. Yeah.
Always.
Oh, it's not what you say, it's how you say
it's how you say
it.
Yeah. No, seriously.
But when you think about that, I think the beauty part of what you just mentioned, it being covering the blind side though, to me, because you visualize it as one, it's you talking to yourself. Like if you don't want nobody talking to you crazy, why are you talking to you crazy?
Wow.
Like,
Too few of us see it that way though. Yeah. Too few of us see it that way. And I think we don't see it that way as we should because we miss that unity component. The two are no longer one. And so, like you said, if you envision yourself talking to yourself, you would not do that.
Correct.
Right. So let's fix that area first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you fix that area. And this is just me, I don't even want to say talking from my clinical space, but you fix that area when you decide the why for the marriage, right? Like I'm big on vision. Right. And I think a lot of times we get into these relationships with our own visions and our own goals. And you talk about being the one and being a unit. We don't even take merger in vision and goals. We stay isolated in that area. So when you stay isolated in that area, you no longer have vision. And the Bible said for the lack of vision, the people perish. So that's why it dismantles. It's not just because, I'm just, I'm me. We got to keep our individuality. It's not even about that. It's more so like you don't have a whole vision for your marriage. and nobody's working towards that one goal where your individual goals kind of fit in underneath the umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm over here, I'm smiling, and I think, John, I'm kicking him under the table almost because we literally just did a segment on vision. Tammy, can't make this up. And it is shocking. It was shocking when we did our research, the number of couples married couples who do not have a vision for their marriage.
Yeah.
How many in the room?
Yeah. So
Actually.
so we had a group of here recently about 20 couples.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we asked how many couples, and this right here was maybe a week ago.
Yeah.
Right. So here it is. Now we're already, you know what I'm saying? We already into January. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, vision should have really been done by the end of the fiscal year, if we'll be honest.
Yeah.
But it's, about a week ago, and we asked this group of 20 couples, married couples, how many have a vision for their marriage?
Yeah.
2 couples raised their hand.
And a possible. It was like spades.
Right. 2 and a possible. You know what I'm saying? It was
They wasn't even going to make board.
They weren't gonna make board.
It was 2 and a possible, right? And so then we took those 2 and a possible, and then we asked the question, out of you 2 and a possible, who knows how you're going to achieve?
Yeah. What's the plan?
The goal.
What's the plan?
Yeah.
No one raised their hand. And so you have people who have a vision board. They got a vision binder. They say, we want to be out of debt. We want this in 2025. We want all these things. You got the vision, but you do not know how you're going to get there. Right. You might as well not have a vision.
Man.
Right?
With no plan.
The Bible says, write the vision, and here we go. Make it plain.
Yeah.
In other words, it's saying get detailed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And many couples, the reason why we're failing in marriage, number one, we either don't have a vision for our marriage or we have one with no details.
Yeah.
They're just goals.
Or we've established, and they're not even real goals, because goals in their true essence, there's a strategy, there's a plan, there's a timeline.
Yeah.
Right. They're measurable.
If they're smart,
right?
If they're smart.
And so something else that I was going to say, and I lost my train of thought. So can you go ahead and pick that back up?
I love it.
Are we losing your train of thought?
No, I did.
Let's see how this marriage works. No, I'm just playing.
You're supposed to catch me.
I'm going to catch you. So basically what we're trying to say is, listen, it's good that you wrote your vision, and it's good that you have your pictures and your cutouts and your stickers on your board and your bond. That is well and good.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, Tammy, when life begins to life, right? The one thing that I love about vision, it's reassuring. When life starts to life, whenever we know, okay, the money don't look how we thought the money would look, whenever we're at odds, whenever we're thinking about throwing in the towel, whenever we begin to grow weary and well-doing, we can look back to something and say, hey, wait. Okay, listen, let's dust our stuff off. Let's slow down. Remember, we said this is where we will be. And we are here. Yeah. This was the goal. Yeah. This was the plan. We've done everything that we can do. And so it also gives us the opportunity and the beauty of being able to call and depend on our Heavenly Father.
Yes, that's so good.
Because we've written out our part and we've come to the end of ourselves with our part. And even if we don't see in our lives what we want to see, all right, God, where you at?
Put them in remembrance.
I'm going to put your remembrance of your word, right?
His word,
And so His word won't return void.
Absolutely.
Never.
You can't
so
do
I think it's so important for couples, man, to get that. Like, write the vision, man, but like get detailed about it. Make that thing plain.
So
and make sure that it's yours. I'm sorry, Tammy.
That's true.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say in this age that we live in, this age of influence, we're finding that so many of us were influenced by everything down to what I'm going to eat for breakfast in the morning. We can't develop a vision for our marriage because we seem to have no mind of our own.
Right.
But we should be having the mind of Christ and allowing Holy Spirit to tell us what it is that he wants to impart or what it is that he wants to show us or give us or whatever space he wants to bring us to. So number one, we're not spending time with Holy Spirit, so we can't get the download. And then we're so highly influenced by everything and everybody, whatever vision that we might have is borrowed. It's not even our own.
Right. Vision, but that ain't your
that
vision.
Ain't your vision.
That ain't yours.
You know?
Right.
So.
But I talk about self-love a lot on this show, right? And you just mentioned get your own, know who you are, all of that, right? Because we talking about unity, how do you maintain your own level of self-love within the relationship?
So, I think for that, it's vitally important that you know, number one, who you are, what you are, what you've been called to do. You've identified your purpose. Right? And so I believe that we both have an individual purpose and we have a corporate purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? And I give her room for her individual purpose.
Yeah.
Right? I've been called to minister. I'm a campus pastor. She gives me room for my purpose. Right? And I think many couples get lost when they become one because, number one, they didn't know what it was coming into the marriage. I didn't know my purpose coming into the marriage. I didn't know who I was coming into the marriage. And like you said earlier, I thought that being married, it would help identify who I am. And so for us, what we do is we leave space for each other to be our authentic selves. Like we're so different. We're so different. And we make sure that although a lot of work that we do together, we leave room for, even in that togetherness, we leave room for her to be her and for me to be me. And I think many couples are failing at that because we have an idea or a theory as to how they're supposed to look, our spouses, how they're supposed to look, how they're supposed to respond, and how they're supposed to act. And that's not factual.
Correct.
Like just
and
because
it's not fair.
It's not fair. just because you get married, you don't lose yourself.
Right.
You should not lose yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I don't know what, to be honest, Tammy, that's just something that we've never struggled with.
Yeah.
And to be, I guess that's why I don't have a direct answer other than just, knowing who you are and being okay with that entering into marriage. And so that when you do get married, you don't have to compete for your identity.
That's good.
That's it right there.
That's
it.
So
That's
you don't
it right
have to
there.
compete for your identity.
Right. Be authentic.
You should not have to get married and lose yourself and fight for what you want and what you want to do. Now, granted, there are certain things inside the marriage that would submit under certain things, but nevertheless, nothing gets lost.
Yeah.
There still should be a equal fulfillment in the relationship. And, back to our earlier conversation, that's also, Tammy, why I feel a lot of people are afraid to get married because they feel like I'm going to get lost in it. They feel like, I haven't achieved everything that I want to achieve single, as if like you can't still achieve married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we've hit some of our greatest goals married
together. Yeah.
A lot of times you need it.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
That's good. That's so
a lot
good.
of times you actually need it. So when in right partnership, because that's the key. It's about the right partnership.
Yeah.
She has the key to your success.
Absolutely.
She is your multiplier. Her role in itself, you know what I mean, is to multiply everything you give her.
Yes.
You might be preaching, Tammy, a little bit. Come on, where's your clergy collar?
Don't do it. No, but I mean, but that's I think that's honestly where it all goes back to in reference to like knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm really big on self-discovery. I'm real big on self-awareness and being authentic, right? Like I think a lot of times we lose our authenticity because we are trying to portray and facade the thing that we think they want.
Right.
So I want to be what I think that they want versus being who you are because clearly they were attracted to something. Like the you got them there.
Yeah.
You don't have to turn into somebody else to keep them there, right?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, but the reason that that's so present is because, let's be honest, many people aren't giving in the dating season their authentic self.
Right.
Yeah, they send their representatives.
So that's the first mistake. Stop.
Yeah.
Get out these dating streets if you're not going to be you. If you're not going to be you, if you're not going to be honest, because man, that's a miserable life having to wake up every day and pretend.
You get tired and you stop,
Absolutely.
and then it falls apart.
You get tired of it, and then let's just say you date for a while and you still been pretending, and y'all get married, and now years later you decide to now take off the mask and be you, and now you're mad that he or she doesn't like the you. That you're finally presenting them with as if they are the problem because they don't want to accept you. I never knew you. How are you? Right. What's your name?
Right.
Introduce yourself to me. I don't know you.
Right.
I don't know you. So, I mean, step one, man, like, if we're going to be out here dating, man, like, listen, man, do yourself a favor and give that person the real you. Like, don't cheat yourself. You are enough. You have enough to offer. You bring enough to the table. You're beautiful. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Let them get to know the real you and accept you for that.
Yeah.
I want to
accept yourself first.
Absolutely.
That part.
Yes.
I wanted to add to what you both have been saying about this. There seems to be not only like an identity crises in relationships and in marriages, but we've found that there's such a competitive space that I do not understand within the marriage union. I don't get it.
We're not in competition with each other. We're going on the same space.
But we've been dealing with that, and we've been noticing and seeing that, and I cannot wrap my brain around why. That's your partner. That's your wise choice. Why the competition? But perhaps it's a part of another influence of culture, that we're in and the times that we're in now.
I honestly would say it's an internal trauma, to be honest, because I would probably guarantee that as a child, they had to compete. And who were they competing with? The people in their house, their siblings, their parents, So if that's all you know, then that's what you show. And that would be lack of healing, lack of identified trauma. So a lot of times certain things show up because of what was, if I was always in competition, if my mom always compared herself to me, if I was always being put against my siblings, who's got the better grades?
That's a real thing.
Your brother did X, Y, and Z in the game. Why you can't do X, Y? So it's always a competitive nature built inside. So when you get married, it didn't change. You still with family. Wow. You still you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You make a great point.
Even if you did not grow up in that type of environment where you had to compete, even if you were ever told that you didn't measure up, or you were ever told that you were not enough, or that you're not good enough, and this can be from a parent, this can be from a ex-husband, ex-wife. If you've ever heard those words, now you get into marriage, and your goal is to perform.
Yep.
Because now you're trying to make sure that they don't have, this new person does not have the same thing to say about you that the last person did.
Absolutely.
So now you're trying to perform. And the thing about performance usually ends up being a competition eventually. It starts off performing, but now it's a competition.
Always.
And typically that competition is, in most cases, it's not always against you and your spouse. Sometimes the competition is between you and you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's going to come out against that spouse.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And nobody sees it, right? Because they don't understand. And if the spouse has a competitive situation, they have that reflector, but it now is still back at the other person. So now we're both in competition, but for two different reasons, but we don't see how to get out of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, how do I stop doing that? And it's addressing the issue. And I'm sure the listeners are saying like, oh, snap. Maybe I need to think about that one. I might need to go write down why I'm in competition with my spouse when we are supposed to be a united front.
Right.
Yeah.
Headed towards the same goals. When we were talking about goals previous and vision boards, This year I didn't do vision board. I did bingo cards.
Okay.
All right.
And the bingo cards, you have a bingo card per type of goal, right?
Okay.
So if the goal was, relationships, then that's the free space would be relationships in the middle. If the goal was like my self-love thing, it was going to be me in the middle.
Mhm.
But the connecting point, because we always want to make bingo, was I needed to make bingo diagonal, both sides, up and down, in the middle, up and down on the sides, like I needed. But I put major goals in the corners and in the center, and I put the steps for those goals on the other spots. So that when I'm crossing off, I'm not just crossing off a goal that was met. I'm crossing off the step to reach the main goal in either corner, top,
Wow.
bottom, or in the middle. So they
I like
all
that.
connected, and that's how you would make bingo. And then you talk about how you put it in a space of steps and making it smart and realistic and timely. It makes it all worth it, because then it's like, you know what? I know my big goal, even in finances, if you say your big goal is to save, $10,000 by the end of the year, have I met the small goal of saving 100? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, little things like that. So that 100 one is going to be on the box.
Right.
I got to cross it off somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just have large goals to reach with no steps. And so when you were mentioning the vision board, I'm like, yeah, them pictures, they got to go. It's good to have pictures for people who are visual, but most of us are tangible in needing to say, I've done something, and checklists and X, Y, and Z. So bingo cards just seem to work. And you don't have to have just one. You can have multiple ones.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like what you said about, if that person has a goal of like saving $10,000, and hey, save the 100, right? I think that's why many of us see defeat when it comes to goals, because we shoot for the moon. And nothing is wrong with that being the end game. But like, realistically, sis, bro, know where you are. And as you're making your vision, as you're writing the vision, and as you're making it plain, like, make it based off where you are. Like, write a goal that's attainable. I'm not saying something that you can just breeze through. You want there to be some stretch there.
Absolutely.
But come on, man. Like, based off what you make, based off what you do, how much money you can realistically save. The budget of your home.
Right.
And so I don't think we consider that. I think we set ourselves up for failure in many cases by not being realistic in our goal setting. And that's even in our relationships. We may write down some things that we want to see our spouses do better. We may write down some things that we want to do better. And I want to write down, I want to be a better communicator. I want to be more attentive to my spouse, whatever the case may be. Like, well, that it's good that you wrote that goal down. But if you know that you are a horrible communicator, right? You can't write down the goal without writing down some self-help for yourself to get better at it. It's not going to just happen by happenstance.
Yeah.
You have to sit down and be realistic with yourself. So listen, if I know communication is on this goal board for us, and I know I got a mouth on me.
Yeah.
I know I like to fuss and holler. That was my nature. That's how I was brought up. Okay, so what are you doing about that?
Right.
What book are you reading about it? Who are you going to see about it? Right? Who couch you sitting on? Let's be for real for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So let's be real with these goals and let's stop just shooting for the moon, and then, December rolls around, oh, I ain't hit it, let's put it back on the board. No. Stop doing that. Stop setting yourself up like that.
Right. Right.
So
I 100% agree.
Wow, today's episode is a good one. I know you're enjoying it, and we'll get back to it shortly. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that Tammy would love for you to share any questions, comments, or topic ideas you have with her. All you have to do is send them to her in an email to podcast@IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
Yeah. So another thing I like to do or talk about doing that I have plans for my own future relationship is what I call check-ins.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on check-ins? And I was just thinking about them as you were talking about these goal settings and the goals for the relationship. I think a lot of times we don't do enough check-ins on, like, your kids go to school every day and they get a report card based upon how they did. And like literally, my daughter just did an argumentative essay on should teachers be graded. And, and the answer was absolutely they need to be graded.
Well, we are
by the students. No.
By the students.
No. By the students, because they're the one getting the lesson. Right.
That. Okay.
And her answer was absolutely positively yes. Because you may think you teach well. But it may not be to all students.
That's so good. Yeah.
And so when you're in a relationship, you may be thinking you doing your thing.
Come on.
But it just may not be showing up like that. Okay. So a check-in, and it's more than just accountability. It's really like having the courage and the receptiveness to ask your partner, how am I doing?
That's so good.
How am I doing in retrospect to showing up on your behalf or treating you from your perspective? Because I could be thinking I'm the bomb. I got this under wraps. Like you happy, and you could be miserable, but you may have the personality of not saying nothing. Like, because we are teaching each other to choose battles and not always have to make an issue out of everything, you may literally be just bottling up certain things because it's like, that's just her. I hate that statement, by the way. That's just so-and-so. It's not just that person. They have the ability to change and adjust. You need to say what you need, right?
Absolutely.
But what do you guys think about check-ins? Like, I'm a big fan, but I would love to know.
So I think check-ins are amazing, but if I can be transparent,
always.
The early stages of our marriage, I hated them.
I'm sure you did.
Right. And the reason why is because I didn't want to know the answer. No, I take that back. The reason I hated check-ins is because I knew the answer.
You didn't want to hear it.
I didn't want to hear it. It was some things that I wasn't ready to change. It was some things I wasn't ready to face. But once I got over that hurdle, man, check-ins became so well because I began to understand that in those conversations, we really find out what our spouses really need. It don't always come out in the day-to-day. Sometimes it come out in the deep conversations that happen when we check in.
Yeah.
Right. And so we like to ask each other, okay, where are you at today? You know, on the scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Okay. Where are you at with our marriage? How was our marriage today? Okay. So that's the kind of day you had, but how was our marriage? 1 to 10. Right. Okay. What can we adjust? You know, what needs to be better tomorrow? And then, I think check-ins are not always verbal. I think sometimes you have to learn your spouse enough to where you can look at them and know kind of what's going on. Like I know what physical touch does for her. And I know when her touch tank is empty. And so, I may just walk up to her and I can put my arms around her and the girl turn to wet tissue paper. She just fall apart. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I've learned to know, okay, so this is my way of checking in. So again, checking in is not always verbal. It's also visual. So learning our spouse, knowing how to look at them and seeing that something is off, seeing that there's a disconnect somewhere. But I do believe check-ins are so important. If you don't ask, you won't know.
Man.
Right? Yeah. And so we just got to be willing to have the conversations and be okay with them holding a mirror up at that moment.
Yeah.
Right. Be okay with looking at yourself. Be okay with them pointing a part of you out that may be flawed right now. And just trust that they're only showing it to you because they want it better for you all. They're not just trying to beat you down.
Right.
They're trying to make the relationship better.
Right.
So that's my view on on check-ins, baby. I'm sure you have a.
Yeah. Well, of course I agree with that. And, but I like something that she said, often, we can think that we're just doing our best work and we're giving it all she's got, but it's something that I said probably the other day, maybe a week ago or something. And I'm just like, hey, I trust that I'm doing the best, that I can and taking care of you, but like, let me know.
Yep.
Like if I'm missing, like, let me know.
If
like,
there's something I can do better, if there's
of
something I
course.
can do differently.
Like, don't let me find out, because
Yep.
I'm giving you the opportunity to be transparent and to communicate. Like, let me know, because I want to get that right.
Yeah.
And I just want to add something else to that, Tammy. I remember this was probably about maybe a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. I walked in the kitchen and I told her, I said, listen, don't let me be out here not doing you right. And I don't know about it. Like, I'll never do it intentionally. And so what I mean by that is, like, don't let me be out here and I'm giving more to my job or I'm giving more to someone else, because I mean, ministry, it pulls on you. And so, like I said, don't be out here needing more of me and you don't ask. I said, I know you are a very understanding wife. You know how to extend grace. I say, but don't be out here like, he working for the Lord. I'm just going to suffer for this season. No, ma'am. No, sir. Like, pull me to the side. Say, hey, listen, home verse. Like, let me know. And I think there are some spouses out here that really want to get it right, but sometimes we have tunnel vision. And I remember I went through a season of that, and I needed her to pull me back in. Say, just tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, all right, you did real good. Now it's time to
prayed enough.
You prayed enough. It's time to come home and pray for me.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Amen.
Yes, you the pastor of this house first.
Right.
And I want hands laid on me.
Right, that part. Hey, the spark has to come from somewhere.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's important too. So although we are checking in, like, your spouse can be doing very well in their careers, and it may be a season to where there may has to be some sacrifice. But like, don't let your relationship become the sacrifice.
Oh,
yeah,
that part.
And I think that's what's happening in most cases. Like I said, she's very understanding, and if you're not careful and you have a very understanding and submissive spouse, you can and will take advantage of their love and their kindness. Right. And although there sometimes will be sacrifice, man, just work at never allowing the marriage to become the sacrifice.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
So I really, I'm really big on intentionality, right?
Yeah.
That's my word. Be intentional. Be intentional for yourself. Be intentional for everything that you do. How do you keep the intentionality of being emotionally and physically connected?
I think we have this thing that we say. We always want to keep the main thing. Right. And so that's in totality, right? That covers the emotional, the physical, spiritual, all that. So if I'm keeping the main thing, I keep it in the forefront of my mind. I'm praying for us first. I'm being intentional about that. I want to hear from God. I want to pray for my husband, and then I want to hear from God concerning whatever it is that he's assigned him to do. And then emotionally, I know what his love language is. I know what he needs. I know what he needs in terms of support. So I want to be able to do that. And then I think, what did you say? Mentally, emotionally, what did you say?
And physically.
How
do you stay connected? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, this may sound taboo, but we absolutely, in terms of physical touch is my love language, but I also know that goes another step. And so we prioritize sex in our marriage. Like, it's a priority. And so I think those are the three ways and the three areas in which we keep the main thing. And then I believe that if you really want to see success in every other area of your life, be it, pertaining to your career or with your children or your other relationships and friendships outside of your marriage, you focus and you hone in on the marriage, and then the success of everything else that you want to see, it will flow out of the marriage. And so that's just how we operate. We believe everything good flows when we're good.
Yeah.
And that's how we take care of that.
the number one thing for me as far as us staying, connected and us being intentional, and I'm not trying to be churchy, man, but prayer works.
Yeah.
Prayer works, man. Prayer is relational, right? And so I'm a firm believer that God doesn't tell me things about my spouse in prayer because she's my wife. He doesn't do it just because. God tells me things about my wife in prayer because I spend time with him for her. So I've developed a relationship. I have a longing for God's heart toward her.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more time I spend in prayer for her, not at her, let me pause right here. Spouses, we got to learn how to pray for our spouses and not about our spouses.
Mm-hmm.
Stop trying to go tell God on your spouse.
Tattletale.
Like he does not
know.
hear, nor does he answer those prayers. Like he knows them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, like, if he doesn't remember your sins and your iniquities anymore, why you keep bringing your spouses up to him?
Right.
And so I think we have to learn how to go to God and cry out for our spouses and learn how to, before God, call our spouses what God called them. Call her the virtuous woman, like build her up, cover her,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so for us, we stay intentional because we pray together
Mm-hmm.
and we spend time praying for one another.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in those moments, it's in the moments of intimacy with him on her behalf that when I come out, I now want to have intimacy with her
Mm-hmm.
because the connection here is good.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps this right here close no matter what. And so I think that's what we've kind of stood on, and that has worked for us. And I don't know any other way of telling you. If you develop a consistent prayer life for your spouse, you will see intimacy and everything else change.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I was telling a friend a few months back who was struggling in her relationship, and I said, "Do y'all ever read Song of Solomon? Do y'all?"
My God from heaven. Come on.
I said, I'm gonna need y'all to get to praying and get to reading together and see what Jesus said about all that.
Yeah.
And she had no idea. She was like, "Songs what?" To the point that she opened it up and was like, "Wait, he talking like?" I said, "Oh wait, you just got started.
Yeah.
You just got started." But that's why people don't understand how sex is such a thing within marriage, because God created it to be lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
too busy weaponizing it. We just talked about that recently about how so many couples that you miss when you place that in a category, you use sex as a weapon, you miss out greatly on what God actually intended sex for, right? So,
yeah, it's not a weapon. It's not something that we put our spouse on punishment from, right?
That part.
We don't use it to get what we want or to get our way. It's a beautiful thing, man. It helps us bond better.
Absolutely.
Right.
It helps us bond better. It helps us, have a deeper connection. And if spouses can just wrap their mind around what sex is really for, right? And understand that this right here, Satan is always trying to cause a wedge in the marriage. He's always trying to separate you two, right? In what act are you the most closest?
Man.
Sex.
Right. Can't get no closer.
You can't. I don't care how hard you try.
Can't get no closer.
You can't get no closer. And so here it is. It's amazing how when tension rises in the home, we stop having sex.
Yeah.
And Satan like, man, y'all doing my job for me.
Right. Yeah. No, that's real.
That's
in
real.
those moments, those are the times that we say, listen, I know we're a little upset right now, but come here.
Yeah.
Come here.
And it's, I mean, I'm going to say what I was going to say. Never mind. It is not appropriate for the air.
Hilarious. But I'm definitely, the fact that you even said, but I'm sure the mending, it actually makes the argument dissipate.
Because
For real,
you
for
can't
real.
argue for real, like during,
No.
after. You can't.
No. You
I
forget what
mean,
you was even mad about.
seriously. So, what we doing?
It wasn't
So
even worth it.
I encourage couples to keep a come here in your spirit. Like,
Yes. Yes.
argument getting too heated. You guys have been talking for a couple days. Come here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Fix that.
Absolutely.
You'll forget what you were mad about.
Absolutely.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry. What advice would you give to couples, newlyweds who are, and I even hate to say the word newlyweds with this question, but will be not shocked how many newlyweds actually need reigniting of their spark sooner than most of us expect. But what advice would you give them if they're looking to reignite their spark?
Yeah. So first, studies show that a newlywed couple is a couple that's been married for 5 or less years, right? And the first thing that I want you to understand is, as a married couple, you never arrive. I don't care how long you've been married. I don't think, like some newlywed couples, we can just make it to year 5. We can just make it to year 10. No, listen, you're always evolving, right? Your spouse is forever changing.
Absolutely.
Right? So you first got to understand that you never arrive. You should always be looking to grow in marriage, right? The second thing is you have to master dying.
Daily.
Many people leave the altar on the wedding day alive when they should have left dead.
Wow.
That's deep.
Right? If we think about it, if we look to the word of God, at the altar is where sacrifices were made. So you at the altar, all pretty, all handsome,
So good.
with all them guests, you were supposed to leave there dead to yourself. You were supposed to leave there not at that moment. I'm no longer considering my needs, my ambitions, my dreams, and my desires. I'm not saying that I just completely throw them away, but right now my focus has to become this person standing across from me. And if I become their focus and they become my focus, who then is left untaken care of? No one. Right? And so, number one, just make sure that you understand you never arrive, right? Number 2, you got to master dying, right? Number 3, you have to have a Christ-centered marriage. I don't care what anyone else telling you. He created the institution. He knows the institution. Listen, no one has a Samsung TV and calls Philips whenever it goes out. Right? No one takes their Cadillac to Mercedes-Benz for service unless they got a homeboy that worked there and they doing it for the Lolo. Other than that, no. You're going to take it to the manufacturer.
Right.
Right? Christ is the manufacturer of marriage.
Okay.
So you have to have a Christ-centered marriage, right? And 2 things real quick about keeping the spark, right? Number 1, stay flexible. Number 2, stay flexible. What I mean by that is, number 1, stay flexible physically. The older we get, so we say newlyweds. You got people that are getting married at 50.
60.
Right? And 60. Right? And so if we're honest, the spark doesn't leave the marriage first. Typically, the spark leaves the body first. And then as a result, it leaves the marriage. What I mean by that is I never took care of this temple.
That's good.
And this temple can't perform. And because I didn't take care of this temple, now I'm seeing the repercussions physically. And so that's why I say, number 1, stay flexible. Number 2, stay flexible. The second flexible deals with making sure that we're not marrying any idea of marriage. Because what worked at year 1 may not work at year 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so you got to be willing to pivot in marriage. And if you're married to a certain thing, a certain tone of the home, a certain position in sex, a certain thing. If you're married to certain things and you're not flexible, 9 times out of 10, your spouse will outgrow you. And ultimately you will see divorce.
Wow. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah.
We've had to pivot many times.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't a bad thing. I think the worst thing that could have happened is that we did not recognize that it was time for a pivot.
Yeah.
That would have been the worst thing that could have happened. But thanks be unto God, you know, that we realized, okay, it's time to shift. It's time to pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And become flexible in those moments.
Yeah. And then newlyweds too, don't stop being punks. I'm just saying it like that. Stop being punks. That's just how I feel it right now. I think a lot of the younger generation, we're very timid and we're soft when it comes to marriage. Like, we don't know how to stay in. We give up so fast and we're like, oh, this ain't what I thought it was. Well, what did you think it was going to be? Let's be honest. Right. And so I think for many of us, we just got to learn how just to stay in the fight.
Right. And I do want to clarify, you know, in saying that. So as I said at the top, your marriage will be under attack day one, like from the moment that you say I do, because Satan doesn't want this. If you think that it's, you know, that he's going to be okay with you being married, you're wrong. Don't even get married if you think that's. But I also want to just clarify something. You know, you said, you know, we're not sticking in the fight, and I agree, we're not. Yeah. And so for anything that we consider the 3 A's, you know, abandonment, abuse, or adultery, then you have just be ready to stick this out. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not talking about those.
No, we're not.
Not saying, we're not. Stick it out, stay in the fight for those 3 things.
Yeah.
But I mean, just because y'all don't see things the same, you won't.
Right.
We don't. That's not what marriage is. Not about losing your voice and your identity. You know, so there will be some things that we don't see eye to eye on, but we know how to get in prayer and find out, okay, well, listen, maybe I need to submit my idea under his or under hers in this thing because they may be a 10 in it and I'm not. Right. And so although I want to go left, you know, I feel it's best for our marriage that we go right.
Yeah.
And so it's just about submitting one to another. And that's a whole other thing. Submission. Man. I know it's been taught one-sided, but you know, it's dual. It's husband to wife and wife to husband. Yeah. You know, stop skipping over verse 21. Right? Stop skipping over that. Part. Yeah, it works, man. Stay in the fight, stay committed. Keep Christ at the center. Keep growing, keep developing. I think that's where many couples also mess up at, Tammy. It's like we don't understand the importance of self-development. I know you talk about self-love, self-care, and things like that. That all falls so well into self-development.
Absolutely. Because over in self-love, we don't just, so I debunk the thought or ideology that self-care is equivalent to self-love. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a part of it. It's not equivalent to it. And a lot of times we hear, oh, I love myself because I go get my hair and nails done. And I go to the spa. And I'm like, no, you don't. You just took care of something that needed to be taken care of. Wow. Right. Now, loving yourself means you're self-aware. You self-forgive. You set healthy boundaries.
So good.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not just going to relax. Right. Now, don't get me wrong. I teach self-care too, but it's a part of it. It's not it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so glad you brought clarity to that.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. We don't. Because I think a lot of us don't really know what self-love is. Like my whole point and purpose behind it is to basically allow you to have the freedom to understand your capacity. That is what self-love is. Do you know what your capacity is? Yes. And most of us don't. We don't, because we have been taught to be people pleasers our entire lives. Do for others. Is so-and-so okay with what you're doing? Did you ask so-and-so before you did that for yourself? Like, everything is about other people.
Right.
that you forget about you. And so you have to matter. You know what I mean? But you have to matter to you first before you can matter to anybody else.
Come on.
Wow.
And so that's why even in marriage, I feel like you can't lose you. You got to hold, like, you is it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like, granted, we're talking that you have to join the unity, but that unity comes from both sides of the spectrum, but you are still it.
Yeah.
That other person has to make you it. I have an uncle that's a preacher and a pastor, and his thing when he marry people is about allowing God to love you through me. And if you're not getting the love that you're supposed to get, it's because I'm not staying connected to God enough for you on your behalf.
Wow.
And because it's not your fight, like, you can't do this by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so good.
Yeah.
That is excellent. Actually, so much so good. What was your definition of self-love? About understanding. I'm literally about to write this down. Understanding your capacity.
Yes, you have to understand your own capacity, how
Very good.
the capacity that you show up in
Mm-hmm.
life and for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Like, when I walk into the room, I need to know how I fit in it.
That's good. It's very good.
You know, and I only know that because I know my own capacity. So you when you walk in a room and you feel a little stuff, you feel like, oh man, I don't really fit here. The walls are closed in. You're in the wrong spot.
Wow.
It's time to exit.
Wow. You know, I think that's so good too, even for the newlyweds to understand, Tammy. Knowing your capacity as you've just recently entered into this union of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have so many people who are now wanting to get out because they feel depleted because they did not know their capacity.
That's good.
And they're stretching too thin. It's vitally important, like you said, to know your capacity. And that's why it's also equally important to have a relationship with your Heavenly Father so that He can pick up when you reach the end of your capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're trying to satisfy a part of your spouse that is beyond your reach and beyond your capacity, you're going to feel depleted. You're going to feel like you're getting the short end of the stick every single time.
Yeah.
And
So
you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Cannot.
So like, understanding the capacity is like taking a cup. And if I know that this cup only fills up this far, I also know how much I've poured out. And I also know when I need to be refilled.
That's
and
true.
when you are within relationship, that's how I was talking about how do you connect and be intentional in that connection and making sure. And you guys were talking about how, hey, I do check-ins, but you also say I'm observant. I know when something is wrong and out of place and needs a little something. And that's understanding the capacity. So once you understand your own capacity, you then turn around and understand the capacity of your relationship and the capacity of that marriage, as well as your spouse's. Like, you got to know.
Yeah.
You can't have a bunch of measuring cups and don't know how much they feel. Like, how much.
I think that plays a part too. That whole capacity piece plays a part too in like expectations. Because
I have a whole thing on that. Like,
wow. I mean, as you were talking that through, I was like, well, yeah, that impacts expectations
all day.
Because I have an expectation, you know, he's a 5-gallon person and I have a 10-gallon tank and he's giving it all he's got.
He can't give no more.
He can't give anymore.
Man.
And that is so good. Where's your collar? Where's your collar thing? No, that's really, really good. Yeah. And so it ties so well back into what John said before, man, like having that relationship with Christ.
Absolutely.
Him helping us to see that and helping us to feel those spaces, those empty spaces. I mean, that's so good.
I think it's important too that once we discover our capacity, we communicate our capacity.
That's good too.
We
Absolutely.
communicate to our spouse what our capacity is.
Absolutely.
So, like, I've learned what her strengths and what her weaknesses are. I know I can look at her and tell when she's running empty. And even like you said, for expectations, I'm now approaching it from like a request of you. So here's, if I know that you're reaching the end of your capacity, I'm going to now say, hey, self, hey, listen, don't ask for nothing else. If anything, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
Because I got to give you time now to refuel.
Absolutely.
Right. But again, that's that selflessness that we have to master in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, it's vitally important that we learn how to visualize the signs
Mm-hmm.
of emptiness in our spouses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does it look when my spouse is running empty?
Correct.
Like, I know for her, like, she loves serving her family.
Mm-hmm.
She loves serving the kids and serving me. And she does it with a smile on her face. Well, the thing about it, she'll always do it. But what will change is I can taste it in her food.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, yeah, you did cook for us, but I don't taste the love.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you're running empty.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always watching things like that. You know, I'm watching her clean, but there's no joy in her as she's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now,
so I think that's
is that on her, or is that on you?
As far as
who should be like really acknowledging that shift?
Yeah, so I believe it's on both of us.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I do believe that the earnest is on her because you know what's going on with you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you know when you're reaching that empty line.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's vitally important that she's the one that communicates it, but we got to also make sure, like, is the nature of the home, is the environment of the home conducive for her to be able to come and say, "Hey, baby, I'm running low."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, listen, I know y'all, listen, this week, can we just have a couple extra eat out nights? Cause like, I need to, so like, yeah, I believe it's on her, but there may be times where she's battling with the compassion she has for serving her home and she don't want to say nothing.
Right.
She just want to kind of, grit her
muscle
teeth
through it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And muscle through it. And so when she does that,
Mm-hmm.
as her husband, as her priest, as her king and prophet, I should be able to look at her and say, hey, you know what? She pushing through at a time that she really don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go order some pizza.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I got to hire a housekeeper for a week, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know what? I can take care of the kids. You go fuel back up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, one thing I've learned about vehicles is this right here. Is that they say that you are not supposed to allow your tank to get past half a tank. Because as the lower it gets, what happens is it begins to now burn the trash at the bottom of the tank.
Absolutely.
Which does the motor damage.
Absolutely.
And so what could be happening is we are damaging our spouses because we are allowing them to get empty.
Wow.
Man.
And although they can still put and still make it up the hill, what damage is happening on the way?
Man.
Wow.
Because you're forcing them to work harder than they need to work.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then when you start saying you need a new transmission and a new
Right. Right. Listen,
and you didn't even have to do that if you had just took care of it. If you had just done the regular maintenance. If you had just
Exactly. And so that's why I say, yeah, it's important that, that you tell your spouse, hey, listen, I'm running low. But even when they don't, man, let's look. Because this is
be
the thing.
observant.
I understand that she like we good when she operates on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And so we understand that our family can thrive when we are at our best.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never want her walking around depleted, empty.
All right.
Right. And so
no gas tank on empty, lights popping on.
No.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, no lights around here. You know what I'm saying? No lights. And so, you could be exposing your spouse's heart, man, to some trash right now.
Yeah.
You could be, damaging critical parts of them. Yeah. And then also I believe that when they do still function, although they still function on that empty tank.
Mm-hmm.
I believe also what happens is they begin to develop a disdain for what they're doing and a resentment for who they're doing it for.
Absolutely.
So they begin to hate and dislike what they're doing and also who they're doing it for.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
Because there's no joy colliding with the work.
Right. And sometimes when the person missing the signs, like that's why I asked who was responsible for saying something, because, not that it's always intentional, but who doesn't want somebody to pay enough attention to them to know that something is wrong?
Yeah.
Sometimes we are in a space where we can't say anything at all. You know, we're at that level. Like, I just can't say nothing. I am just doing what I know to do in this moment because I can't say anything.
Right.
And having someone in your corner who knows you inside and out, that knows the small shifts.
Yes.
It don't even have to be major. They be small. Yeah. And it's like, oh, wait, you shifting to the left is okay. You know, and sometimes you may not say anything that first time because you're observing and seeing how far left are we really going. Was it a real shift, or did they just like stumble and then they pop back up? You know what I mean? Like, or are we sleep at the wheel and we really veering off because we ain't really holding on too tight? So yeah, I 100% agree. Now I have a final question, and this because I am 100% shocked that this topic has not come up this entire conversation.
Okay.
Where's the date nights?
Where are the date nights?
Where are the date nights?
So you're saying with us?
Like, just in general. So when we talked about reigniting things, we haven't talked about how important dating remains in the marriage to keep the spark alive or going. Like, I'm a firm believer in date nights. You know, even on my self-love stuff, we got solo dates too. Like, you know, I'm a firm believer in doing some things. So
I'll go first, then I'll let you.
That's fine.
So we do believe that date nights are vitally important.
Absolutely.
The first thing, though, I would say is we cannot marry this idea of society's dating. And what I mean by that is dating does not look the same for every couple.
I'm listening.
Every date night is not going to be at a 5-star restaurant.
Oh, no.
You get what I'm saying? And I think for some people, the reason why they cannot stay consistent in dating is because they do not have an idea of what dating looks like in their marriage.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Based on where they are. So right now we are in a preparation season. We're getting ready to relaunch the podcast next week, and we got a lot of stuff that's going on right now. So this season of dating looks very different, right? Because a lot of our resources and time now, it doesn't mean that we don't keep the main thing the main thing. We just understand that right now this is a season of sacrifice and preparation. But even in this, what we're making sure that we're doing is, hey, so listen, right now the resources don't say we can go out, but we can order some in, or I can hop in the kitchen with you and we can cook a meal together and we can sit down and watch a movie. We ain't gonna talk about nothing business. We're gonna sit down on this table and we're gonna pull out the trouble game and we're gonna play trouble. We're gonna play some Connect Four. You get what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna turn on YouTube and we're gonna learn this boots on the ground dance.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? So right, you know what I'm saying?
Where them fans at? Where them fans at? Yes.
And so for us, we just made sure that early on we discovered that our dating life, sometimes seasons change. And I feel led to just kind of drop this in real quick, Tammy, is that in marriage, we got to be prepared to shift based on the season that you're in. And that season can be a financial season where the funds are not there. Just because the funds are not there don't mean you don't date. You find out ways to date based on the funds you do have.
Yeah.
Say that.
You may say, well, we don't have much time in this season. Okay, so you find out what dates you can do and how you can date based on the season of time that you do have. And so for us, we recently went through a season where all of our dates were day dates. And it was because that based on the kids' responsibilities, stuff always going on. So we went through a season where we were catching brunch. We were catching lunch. And it was so good, but we still were intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so dating is vitally important because you got to understand that in most cases, that's where your relationship started at.
Yeah.
You started dating. You started courting each other. Just because, you guys made it past the altar, you're married now, don't mean you stop dating.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to keep that going.
What they say, what you did to get me, you got to do to keep me, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
You gotta do it to keep it. And then too, I think dating is important because what I've learned is that it actually refreshes her.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that about my wife. It refreshes her because it gives her an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
That's opportunity where she doesn't really have to worry about the kids because they're taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
We've already got them fed. They're already, whether, a babysitter or they're at some friend's house, wherever's going on with that. All those things are already established. And so now she can just let her hair down and just let me love on her.
Because that was the point when you started dating anyway. Like, let's just keep it 100.
Yeah.
When we start dating, the date's really about the woman.
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
No, but you right though. You right though. I mean, want no brother care about no date.
Yeah, but
that part.
I don't know. With these new age people, they say
care.
The women they got to prove that they could take the brother on a date or something like that. That's what
they talk about reciprocations around here.
Yes,
and now I'm not gonna lie, I'm a believer in reciprocation because I think
absolutely
that it was lost. And I say lost in translation, that men don't deserve flowers, that men don't deserve gifts, that men don't deserve to be treated right. Yeah. And that take him on a surprise getaway. It's okay. Yeah. But they,
sugar mama a little bit.
Just a little bit for 5 seconds. You're getting that money back tomorrow. But I do think that they should be adorned. You know what I mean? Absolutely. They are people too. Their emotions exist. I think that we have beat men down so much about expressing emotion that they don't, and they should.
Yeah.
And then they get into marriages and they can't and they won't. And that's another problem because they don't know how to be vulnerable. Right. They just know how to be the man.
Right.
And men have a soft side. There are times where they need to lay their head on their shoulder too, on that woman's shoulder too.
Of course.
And they don't know how. And when they do it, we as women, so wrong. So if you listening, listen clearly. You're wrong when you decide to tell that man he should not be laying on your shoulder and beat him up like he calling him soft and weak because he's having vulnerable moments. You should be feeling special that he even allowed you to see him in that space.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's so good.
You know how much strength that takes for a man to do that?
Yeah.
I never forget, man, the first time that I was that way with when I, like the first time, like I just let my hair down and I cried and told her like, I'm hurting, like I'm tired or like I'm frustrated, I'm angry, like whatever those emotion was that I shared with you the first time. But like, it is so rewarding to hear the words of your queen comfort you in moments like that. Yeah. And if we're honest, the reason why most women have a problem with that is because it's easier to bash him and call him weak than to verbally, mentally, and spiritually support him in that moment. Yeah. Because if we're honest, they never got it as a woman growing up. They don't know how to do it. They didn't see their mom do it.
Right.
So they don't know how to address that type of man. But I'm a firm believer if as a woman, if you ever learn how to speak to the king inside your man, listen, as men, and men, if you listen, say amen, we will move heaven
mountains
and earth for a woman that knows how to speak to our innermost being.
Yes.
A woman that knows how to call forth the king in you and to affirm you, man, we'll do whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
You will never have to ask for anything.
Right. You think about it, it's done. You think about it, it's done.
And so I think that's so important. I was just talking to a young lady Sunday after church, telling, of course, I had talked with her husband the day prior to, and so he was kind of letting know some issues going on. And then she came and talked to me Sunday after church, and I'm like, okay. I said, listen, I said, you got to learn how to talk to that man. I said that's just what it boiled down to. You have to learn how to talk to him.
Absolutely.
You have to learn how to speak to the part of him that you are responsible for.
Good.
You're helpmeet.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are a helper suitable.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to speak from that place. And I think oftentimes, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but oftentimes, women love to put the man in his place and say, well, you the man, you the king. Well, you to help me. And right now I'm hurting. I need help.
Yeah.
That's good.
As
Right now,
women
I'm
being the
broken.
neck.
Yeah.
And we're, you control that head.
Yeah.
Let's keep it all the way real.
No, that's good.
And we don't take position in that space. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
When your neck go out and you got that crook in your neck and you can't turn, what happened?
Yeah. You're right. you stuck.
Well, you are what? But you want him to still be the head, right? You can't even turn to look to see what's coming your way.
That's true. That's true.
So you can't get out of alignment, and that head don't move without you. So a lot of times we forget our spot, which is why we try to put you in your place.
That's so good.
That's so good.
That's so good.
What I love about the head, though, thinking about it, like the head rests.
Man,
it don't have to fight to stay up there.
That's it.
No,
it just rests there.
That's true. That is true.
And then the function of it is just effortlessly. Like it's beautiful. And so, like you said, we can't get out of alignment. And so your marriage is depending on you operating in your God-given position.
That's good.
Whether it be head or neck, whether it be husband or wife, the success of your marriage. Listen, I like to tell couples this right here. If your marriage fails, it will be your fault. If your marriage succeeds, that too will be your fault. It will be you that determines, not God, not society, not your neighbor, not anyone else. It'll be you that decide the longevity of your relationship. And it all depends on you stepping up to the plate in spite of what your spouse is doing and or not doing. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to show up every day for you. And I've seen this happen so many times, Tammy, to where like, if I wasn't doing my part, Dom always did hers. And again, because she was always the neck, I couldn't help but get back in line and follow. I couldn't help but get back on track.
That's good.
Because I've never seen a head and neck go separate ways. And if we think about it, that's probably where the crook comes from. The crook in the neck comes from one trying to go another way.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
I've never seen.
What do they say when you get a crook? You slept wrong. You slept the wrong.
Oh man,
that's so good.
You slept wrong.
So good.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
And so that could be what it is, man. Y'all slept wrong. Y'all just slept wrong.
Awesome. Oh my God. I have enjoyed this conversation beyond measure.
Yes.
Beyond measure. Please let the people know how they can connect with you, be it social media, be it email, courses, coaching programs, everything you have. Just let them know.
All right. So you can catch us on socials, Facebook, Instagram, and we're on TikTok. On all three, we're found at the Marriage Matters brand, the Marriage Matters brand. Then, of course, you can hit us an email, info@themarriagemattersbrand.com. And you can catch us on our website at themarriagemattersbrand.com. So there you can find merch, coaching sessions, all the things. So we're there.
Yeah. And the Marriage Matters Brand podcast, we actually are relaunching YouTube next week. We're back in for season 3. We took a little break, but we're back in for season 3. It airs every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube. You can also catch it on any podcast streaming platform that you like as well.
Awesome. Again, thanks for joining us. And as they told you how to restore the spark, I always tell you how to love yourself. Remember, love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus. Have a good one and see y'all next week.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you'd like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.